Guess who's back? Back again. Your boys. Tell a friend. Welcome to the Breakaway podcast. John Root here. Brian Farnsworth, how the heck are you?
Oh, doing so good. Always blessed to be here on this desk with you.
Oh, man, it's always a good time. It's good to be here. We hope you had a fantastic Christmas, a great New Year's, and most importantly, a safe Christmas and New Year. I do want to start out with this. There's a lot of people that might be tuning in now, listening a little bit later. We appreciate y'all so much. You might have gone to America Fest. Maybe you watched it online. Maybe you've been hearing a little bit more about it and you're like, there's no way I'm missing it next year. This year was incredible. What this whole team here at Turning Point USA as a whole, Charlie Kirk, was absolutely insane. And the fact that I know I was just individually honored to share the same stage as Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, some of the biggest names in conservative media, and some of the biggest sports stars. Like that sports panel being up there with Steve Weatherford,
awesome.
Michael Chandler, Cameron Haynes. It was an incredible conversation, and it was such an honor being up there.
Oh, I mean, if you missed it, I don't know what you're doing. You missed the biggest freedom party in America. It was just absolutely such a great time. And this might have been my favorite moment of the whole thing was during Dustin Lynch's performance, his concert. I'm down there in the pit. And then I look behind me, and there's Madison Cawthorn and Michael Chandler just hanging out, just shooting the crap. And I was
shooting the crap.
Yeah, I had to censor myself. But I was like, where else would you see this? Where else would you see Madison Cawthorn and Michael Chandler hanging out? It was awesome. Just such a good time.
Yeah, it was a great time. And also, speaking of Dustin Lynch, you left me hanging, brother. You let me. I was I dabbed up with basically everybody. So I got Brantley Gilbert, I got Russell Dickerson, and I posted this on my IG. I posted a reel, and then I got my arm up there for Dustin Lynch, and he didn't get me. So hopefully we'll figure that out at some point. But it's going to be a great show for you. We're breaking down a little bit of NFL. You've heard about the Aaron Rodgers situation. We're going to break that down. That and so much more in the NFL. College football championship game coming up. Man, those semifinals are kind of whack. And then we got the NBA. Who's the MVP? What else is going on? Little news out of the NHL and Novak Djokovic getting sent back home because of tyranny in Australia. Let's start with the NFL. So,
Thunder down under.
Aaron Rodgers is the MVP on and off the field. Do not mess with that guy.
Mostly off the field, though, right? I mean, and there's nothing against what's doing on the field, but his off the field stuff is insane right now. I love it. Go on.
So they had this reporter it's been around for some years, and he's got a vote for the MVP. I think there's about 50 people that can vote. He's a part of the Associated Press. His name is Hub Arkush. What a name. Also, I need to talk to his parents. Where did Hub come from? So what he did, so he's an executive editor of Pro Football Weekly, analyst with Shaw Media, Daily Herald, sideline reporter for Westwood One, NFL insider for 670 The Score. What he said was, I will not vote for Aaron Rodgers because he's a bad guy and the biggest jerk in the NFL. He said that he already made up his mind in the offseason about this.
Before a snap of football had been played, he made up his mind, which, and so, Aaron Rodgers comes on and responds to this, and I love it. First thing he says about the guy, bum, absolute bum. And he is a bum because who the heck, I mean, if this is your job, this is your profession, and you make up your mind before a snap of football is played, you immediately need to be kicked off of that prestigious group that chooses the MVP. You're done. You're gone. Game over. I don't know what else to say. Like, the guy is an absolute bum.
100%. And then something that I was mentioning, I put that out right away, is if someone is this emotional and puts their politics, and maybe even like he covers the Bears. And remember, Aaron Rodgers, he owns the Bears. I own you guys. He owns Hub. He owns the Bears. He's owning everybody in media right now. And then when Hub said this, I was like, take the voting rights away from this guy. Because if you can't take your emotions and politics out of this, get out of here. Well, that's no chance. And that's what Aaron Rodgers said. It's like, take this away.
Yeah, well, because a fantastic line from Aaron Rodgers during this, during his response to Hub was when he said, look, okay, if you want to have your most valuable vaccinated player award, go ahead, go do that. And that's something I remember bringing up weeks ago here on Breakaway when we were talking about, look, it's looking like Aaron Rodgers is really heating up. And so we foresaw some of the MVP conversation. And I said, I don't know if he's going to win MVP because who votes on the MVP? Sports writers. And perfectly predicted of there would be people who make up their mind over jab status for Aaron Rodgers on whether or not he could be the MVP, which is insanity.
And I love that Aaron Rodgers just doesn't hold back.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's a bum, an absolute bum. Went on to say, so when we speak of this vaccinated conversation, he said his problem is I'm not vaccinated. And that's 100% correct. And there's a cancel culture out there. No matter what Chris Long tries to say on Twitter, there is a cancel culture out there. And then someone like Aaron Rodgers is going to fight back against this. But after that presser, and I love how Aaron Rodgers said, I'm not doing any in-person interviews. I'm doing Zoom now because I don't want to wear a mask. He's just gone all out. It's just you are on my terms. I am going to run the show. And I don't care if I got a broken toe. I don't care if you guys think that immunize mean what you think it means. I'm going off. But Hub, last night, I said he was a part of Shaw Media. He posted on the Shaw Media website and apologized. And he put out this big, long article, and a few snippets of that is, so just in case you haven't heard, I've spent the better part of the last 24 hours making a pretty nasty mess. This is how the article started. Actually, and much to my surprise, that may be the understatement of the year. There's absolutely nothing clever or remotely entertaining about it. I made a terrible mistake. It was completely my fault, and there is no one else to blame. I am here to try to apologize. I own this, and I couldn't be more sorry. And then he went and wrote this whole thing about, I want to give you some more clarity, blah, 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 about the situation. Do you think that he's just trying to save his voting status and trying to just basically save whatever kind of journalistic integrity that he has left, or do you think he actually means this and really, really does think he's wrong?
I know very little about the guy, same as Aaron Rodgers said.
He said nobody knew about him.
I don't know who this dude is. What I can guess, though, is he never had any journalistic integrity to begin with, because nobody falls off a cliff that hard. But no, look, it was a fake apology. He might as well have wrote an entire. No, he could have gotten rid of the whole apology and just put out the Conor McGregor tweet. Quote of I would like to take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody, because what he ended up saying was, look, he in this massive article response that he put out, he said that the error he made was not in what he said about Aaron Rodgers, but, and this is the quote, he failed to respect the cardinal rule of voting, not disclosing your plans prior to it being announced. No, the cardinal rule that you broke was you were letting decisions off the field impact what you saw on the field. That was your mistake. And the fact that this guy doesn't get it is what just blows my mind about all this leftism that has infiltrated sports, because they cannot separate things. They cannot compartmentalize. And it's stupid to watch. And that's what, leads to, you and I sitting down on the mic today, of the fact that these sports writers don't get it. They keep bringing in outside stuff into sports. And
then we know that sports writers and sports media are left-leaning. The vast majority of them.
Just read, because they get educated at colleges.
Yeah, read Clay Travis's book, Republicans Buy Sneakers Too. That guy knows everybody from Fox to ESPN, every outlet, Associated Press, and he talks about how people voted and then the way these companies go about it. Like, if you are going to vote right-leaning or you're going to just support anybody, most of the time in sports media, it's going to be on the left. And then Enes Kanter Freedom brought it up when we had that podcast with him. If you haven't tuned into that, you can do that on Apple, Spotify. You can also check it out on YouTube. So many great quotes from him. And then when I brought up LeBron, his first response, though, was, sports media, are they idiotic? Like, are they not going to really ask questions? Are they not going to have any sort of journalistic integrity behind this? Because we know where their politics lie. And we know that's why there's specific stories that come out there, and that's why they try to protect each other on the left side. And that's why, exactly, we need shows like this, because they're blatantly not doing their job whatsoever. and they're not really apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no woke mob coming after Hub. Do you think there's a lot of people in sports media that are going to really protect Aaron Rodgers or stand up for him? No. Maybe Pat McAfee. That's it.
There may not be a woke mob coming after him, but let me tell you, there's a whole bunch of cheeseheads that are going after Hub these days.
Man.
But, no, I mean, obviously we had to address that. That's the elephant in every sports room right now of the crap going on between Hub and Rodgers. But, you know, let's get to some real sports. Let's actually talk about sports. Let's not talk about Hub.
Well, I think actually before we get into like some real sports, somebody that doesn't seem like he's in sports anymore, Antonio Brown. Like I could only imagine if Brian over here just decides to be like, all right, well we're halfway through the show, but I'm just gonna dip. I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
But the reports that are coming out are insane. It's he said, she said. We know Antonio Brown is a whack job. He's a weird dude. If you haven't watched some of his YouTube videos, especially when he was playing for the Raiders, like
playing for the Raiders.
Exactly. So basically anybody that doesn't know that situation, what's coming out is reports that Bruce Arians, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was trying to put Antonio Brown into the game. He'd already played about half that game against the New York Jets, what they were down by a couple scores.
Mm-hmm.
They were not playing well at all. And then Antonio Brown was saying that he was hurt. I don't want to go in. And the guy's a few catches away from $1 million incentive bonus, and he's got touchdown bonuses. He has a chance to make like almost $3 million off incentives and get those bonuses. And he just said he didn't want to go in. Looked like Mike Evans was trying to calm him down on the sideline. Took his helmet off, took his pads off, threw his shirt into the stands, ran off, threw a double peace sign to everybody, and then got picked up by an Uber.
Yeah, I mean, if the question is what is Antonio Brown doing next after this, why not a sponsorship with Uber? Because let me tell you, we all know he uses it.
Dude, there's no doubt about that. But I think something here, there's a lot of people trying to go off the conversation of, oh, this is clearly CTE. Guys, you don't watch Will Smith with an accent in some movie about CTE and then consider yourself an expert. I'm not going to come over here and say, oh, that's got to be CTE. There's weird people in the world. And he has definitely got some issues, but I am not going to come out here on this podcast. I don't think anybody should come out here and say 100% this is CTE and this is a prime example of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I kind of echo the words of Michael Strahan. I was watching him on Sunday, and he said, look, like, obviously, yeah, there's a lot we can meme about this, a lot we can joke about this, but let's also remember this is not normal activity. So whether or not it's CTE, no idea on that. We wouldn't be able to know until we could cut his brain open and look at it. But what we do know is it's not normal activity. A normal human being does not do the moves that Antonio Brown has done. And so I really do hope AB gets the help he needs, because he is a whack job 100%. And it's just like he needs help.
Yeah. And I think that's someone too, like, I hope he surrounds himself with people.
Wasn't he living at Brady's house?
Yeah, he was staying at Brady's house, and that's the thing where Antonio Brown's got to help himself.
True.
He has so many people that have stuck their neck out for him, and the fact that Tom Brady stuck his neck out to multiple times, where I know that there's reports out there that Bruce Arians was saying, I don't want this guy. And they were saying, hey, you make one mistake, you're gone. But the funny part about this is Antonio Brown was calling out the sports media saying, oh, you guys all about drama. That's it. That was a week before he rips his pads off, goes shirtless in New York, and says, deuces, I'm out. Who's about drama? Antonio Brown. But he did come out with a rap song.
No.
That night, I'm pretty sure. It's a rap song called Pit to the Palace. There it is. So you can find that on AB's YouTube. I'll tell you what. It kind of slaps.
It's a minute 53 long, dude. Everybody thinks they're a SoundCloud rapper.
That's what I mean. Everybody's trying to be Dame Dollar.
Yeah, no. Childish Gambino said it best in, I think it was in Bonfire, where he's got the line, Why does every black actor got to rap some? I don't know. All I know is I'm the best one. And it's just like, but it's moved over from because it used to be black actors that were doing all the, and now we have all the athletes that are all think they're rappers now, and it's just like, not everybody can rap. Just not everybody can rap.
I'll tell you what, the
stuff is not good.
The beat kind of hits though. It is. I was listening.
I haven't listened to this yet though. Okay, so I'll withhold my judgment.
My God. Well, best of luck to Antonio Brown. He's trying to say that basically he's going to have surgery, and he posted a whole long statement on his IG about that. You can read, but I really don't think another team's going to give him a chance.
No.
The only reason he got a chance is because of Tom Brady. That's it.
Yeah, Tom Brady went to bat for him. Honestly, Mike Tomlin deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for the work he did in Pittsburgh with Antonio Brown, because he had this whack job on his team for all those seasons, and we didn't know he was crazy.
Yep.
We had no idea.
Are we allowed to go back and just kind of revise the Coach of the Year?
Yeah, and give it to Mike Tomlin every year that Antonio Brown was on the roster.
Exactly. All right, we're going to talk about some real football. So there's some playoff implications this week. There's no Thursday night football, so you're not going to see that tonight.
What a bummer, dude. I love Thursday night football.
It is fun. I feel like a lot of people try to trash on Thursday night football. Obviously, there is.
Because it's normally it's normally a bad matchup, which makes it great.
Literally. But I feel like, too, this year we've been blessed with a lot of really good primetime games.
That's actually
Thursday,
true.
Sunday night, and Monday night. I think for the vast majority of the time, I remember like the first half of the season, like they were really good games. It seemed like.
And they peaked with, I feel like, the Thursday night Cardinals-Packers game.
Yes.
And because that was like week 7, week 8. It was week 8. Mm-hmm. No, you are right on that.
So obviously there's some playoff scenarios that we're going to keep up with. There's plenty of teams that have already locked in a spot, and Lions fans, you guys have been out for a while, but they're not going for the playoffs. They're going for that number 1 seed. I mean, you would hope so.
No, they played their way out of it.
No, I'm pretty sure they lose this week and the Jags
win. Oh, because there's all those Jags playoff implications.
Exactly. So then that's when they would be able to lock in that number 1 pick. So I mean, at this point, so I think that's what if the Lions lose to the top
Jags
seed,
have it.
What's up?
Currently, the Jags have it. If season was over right now, Jags own the number 1.
Exactly. So right now it sounds like if the Lions lose to the Packers,
which
they'll finish the season 2-14-1. That's half a win worse than the Jags 3-14. Boom.
Oh.
I'm just here to shock you, Brian Farnsworth.
Man.
But probably the craziest scenario is get this. I'm not really much of a soccer fan at all. I can't stand soccer. I can't stand ties, and especially you think of soccer as a game that could potentially end 0-0. That's whack. That's not the kind of sports I love. But potentially we could see a game end 0-0, and both those teams could make the playoffs. Get this, Brian Farnsworth. Get this, everybody listening and watching. Colts, Raiders, and Chargers all going for the playoffs. The Colts win, they're in. But if they lose, you could have the Chargers and Raiders kneel it out for an entire football game and tie and go to the playoffs. How absolutely bonkers would that be? And it is Sunday night football. I know there was a few people in the office asking me about this yesterday. Like, are you going to talk about this on the pod? And I was like, yes. And at first I was like, no way. This is competition. They can't do this. Like, there's incentives that these guys are trying to make money, and it just feels like the integrity of the game would be under fire. But this would be maybe the coolest sports moment in the history of American sports.
Well, because obviously, Herm Edwards said you play to win the game. But what you're playing to win what game? Which game? You're playing to win the Super Bowl. The game played in February.
We talking about playoffs?
We're talking about playoffs. No, that's the game you want. And so the funny thing is both teams actually do have an incentive to do this. Do I believe it's going to happen? No. Why? Because Roger Goodell would absolutely murder them if they did. He would be so. That's why he was just on the Manning cast a couple days ago, and they were asking him about, who do you want to win the game? And he said, well, as commissioner, I just want it to be a close game. And of course, it's the most lawyer politician thing to ever say ever. But no, do I think it's gonna happen? No. But the truth is, these teams, they will know at that point if they need to do this.
Yeah, because the Colts and the Jags, they play earlier in the day. So I think they play at
they're a morning slate game.
Yeah, I think they're 10 a.m. Pacific time. So so they're 10 a.m. Pacific time. They're playing against the Jags. Jags are 15.5-point underdogs. But get this. The Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014. 2014.
It's insane to think about the Jacksonville teams. But even last year, Jacksonville won one game on their road to getting Trevor Lawrence. And what game was it? Week 1 in Jacksonville against the Colts.
Yep.
The Colts can't do it for whatever reason. So just classic. Here's what to expect. Trevor Lawrence is going to go out there, remind everybody why he was the number 1 overall pick. He'll throw for he'll do his best Joe Burrow impression. He'll throw for 450 yards, 5 touchdowns, and beat the Colts and put the greatest scenario of all time into place for Sunday Night Football.
Man, this is going to be amazing because I am going to be rooting so hard for the Jags, and you might see some weird characters in the stands in Jacksonville because it sounds like the fans are playing a clown out. That's what they're doing. No, so there's been reports. So the NFL Network reported that owner Shad Khan decided to retain general manager Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke, that was with the Niners for a long time, got a lot of flack for the way he was going about building out that team after Jim Harbaugh left and everything. And then obviously they brought in Mr. Lynch, who's been doing a great job over there in Santa Clara, San Francisco, whatever you want to call him. But since they're retaining Trent Baalke, fans were saying they've had enough. So they started changing their profile photos to clowns. And we're going to show you right there. So that's a screenshot. This is a tweet from Daniel Griffiths. The entire Jaguars fan base has changed their Avi to this clown emoji.
Man, dude.
So what they decided to do is they changed those social media avatars to clowns with Khan's mustache. So Shad Khan is got just a pretty prolific mustache, and I guess that's what they're planning on doing at the game.
Jeez.
That's what they're thinking about doing. So obviously Jacksonville is gone through hell. They obviously had the whole Urban Meyer situation. Trevor Lawrence has not been what they thought he was going to be, but also I don't really blame Trevor Lawrence too much about what's going on there. No offensive line, no defense, nothing whatsoever. And I really hope they do it.
Yeah, I think it's a little unearned flack for Trent Baalke. He's only been the general manager there for a year and a half-ish. He was the interim last year and then became full general manager this year. Truth be told, their draft class from this year wasn't bad. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, but we haven't been able to get to see him. Tyson Campbell, who's been playing fine. Walker Little, who I think is going to be a good tackle. Andre Sisco doesn't play, and then a bunch of late guys. But yeah, I don't know. As far as look, you know what? No, okay, you gotta earn your stripes if you wanna dislike your general manager. Conversation for a whole nother podcast. I could go in on why the Arizona Cardinals should have fired Steve Keim years ago. So I just cool your jets, Jacksonville. I know you want to get better, but you've had this guy for a season and a half. Give him a chance to build something. I don't know.
Hey, at least you're not a Falcons fan. You and everybody else watching. At least we got Cordell Patterson. Also, one of the biggest snubs in the Pro Bowl, A.J. Terrell.
Yeah, no, he's Pro Football Focus's number 1 rated corner. He's absolute lockdown.
And then Cordell Patterson doesn't get in either. He didn't make the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that I'm not as miffed on. I don't know. It kind of seems like these words could come back to haunt me, but he kind of seems like a empty stats, bad team type performances. The look in John's face right now. It's like
I don't normally get triggered. I'm triggered right now. That's a whole nother podcast. But the Big Ben moment I think was fantastic.
Oh that was What a game.
Yeah, what an ovation and what an honor. You could tell just the whole city, the team just respects that guy. And that guy has had a roller coaster ride.
Absolutely.
Like he's been one of those guys where, he's also been another Pittsburgh Steelers that made some major mistakes and got into some major trouble. But
all you had to say is he's a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yes, but exactly. But if they win and beat the Ravens, they're in. The Ravens are trash.
Yeah,
they've been like maybe over the past decade the biggest trash number 1 seed I think I've seen. So because they were number one in the division for a long time.
Oh yeah, well I mean they're incredibly beat up this year. I mean when you lose the amount of guys that they've lost, like starting with of course Lamar Jackson, but talking about Marlon Humphrey, Chuck Clark, Marcus Peters. I mean their secondary has been completely blown away with injuries. Obviously losing your former MVP quarterback. Of course they're bad. Like to me, of course they're bad. The Bengals run the division, sure. The king of the North is Joey B.
King of the North.
But I mean, there's a very real chance that Pittsburgh can win and be in. But that game, watching just how emotional Ben was, it was wild to see. Just like that, this was. I mean, because they're not going to have, even if they make it into playoffs, they won't have home field advantage in any game. Mm-hmm. So that was, I fully 1,000% believe that was Big Ben's last home game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's done. But other things in the NFL too. We got some Saturday games, couple Saturday games.
I love Saturday games.
The Chiefs are hot. I would not want to see the Chiefs in the playoffs at all. They are firing on all cylinders. Patrick Mahomes is figuring out. The offense is clicking. The defense looks like Georgia's defense, except for when they were playing in the SEC championship game. And they're playing the Broncos. The Broncos are already out. They have a disaster of a quarterback situation. I'm interested to see what they're going to do in the offseason. And then right after that afternoon Saturday game, we got the night game, Cowboys-Eagles. Eagles are in the worst division in the National Football League. The Eagles are going to the playoffs. And I don't care who they see, I would not bet on the Eagles.
Really? So break down to me what you don't like about the Eagles.
The Eagles, I feel like, are completely inept on offense at times. Where they have random good games that are like, oh, whoa, are they clicking? Are they doing like Devontae Smith? He's looking great. It's like, I just don't feel like they have the experience. And I think once they go on the road, wherever they're going to go, it's going to show. It's going to show that they've been a pretender. They are not a contender at all.
See, for me, it could be a sneaky bet. I'm obviously for that wild card weekend, I need to see who they're going to go up against. But this is what I like about the Eagles is that you're absolutely right. Jalen Hurts is a roller coaster. I believe he does deserve a job as a starting QB1.
No doubt, because remember his game against the Niners in Santa Clara? Like, he's had some special moments. So don't get me wrong. No disrespect to him at all, because he deserves the job, but I just don't trust him.
Quick side tangent. Did you see the video of the Washington football team's stadium where the railing fell off and they almost fell on Jalen Hurts? And then he starts helping people up and starts taking selfies with them. What a good guy. But
and also the Washington football team tried saying that they provided medical attention, and then all those people were like, no, they didn't.
It's the same stadium that twice this season, not once, but twice, have had poop water coming out of their pipes and going on to fans. Like
the swamp. It's
literally the swamp.
The Washington swamp.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's unreal.
That's why when people were asking to go off on another little tangent, was I know we put on our Instagram, if you're not following us at all, it's at TPUSA Breakaway, said, what should we name the Washington football team? Because Pro Football Focus came out with that tweet that said, all right, they're going to change their name by February 2nd, but if you had the choice, what would you go with? Somebody said the Washington Deep State. And then once they said that, I was like, whoa, great. And then we could call the fan base the Swamp. And then when a team's up big and they start leaving, you can say we're draining the swamp.
And then, when you got a good team, then they become the Swamp Monsters. There's just so many possibilities. But quickly back to the Eagles. depending on what the matchup is for Wild Card Weekend, and obviously we'll get more into this when it actually is playoffs that week. Yep. But they have figured out their identity. What scares me about teams are teams, not necessarily who has the most stars on their team. I am terrified of teams who know who they are. They have an identity. An identity in sports is when you know what you want to do and you can do it consistently. So they figured out we want to be a team that runs the ball and mauls people with our offensive line, and that is what they do. That's what they've done for 7 straight weeks. And that is the only reason why I would be a little scared to play the Eagles in the playoffs, because they're rushing for like 200 yards a game right now over the last stretch of the season. They know what they want to do, and they've been doing it consistently, and that scares me. I would not want my team to run. That's why other side note, another team that terrifies me are the Colts. The Colts know who they are as a football team, and they execute on it consistently.
But I will rebuttal.
Yeah.
that.
Give it to me.
Okay, still, you're playing NFL teams, you're playing NFL talent, but they have played some garbage squads. Garbage. Some of the worst teams in the league. Their last game against Washington, they played the Giants. They beat them 34-10. They played Washington again, won 27-17. They played the New York Jets. And then you know who they played again? They played the Giants. And then before that, they played the Saints. So sure,
Saints are good defense.
The Saints defense is okay, but in general, the defense is not that good when your offense really can't sustain drives.
What you don't like Taysom Hill?
No. Trash. Trash, and some more
it's
trash.
It's a good point. They play in the NFC least, and they have gotten to have a very cake schedule over the last little bit. Like I said, it's all going to come down to who do they end up playing. Yep. However, if it ends up being like Tampa Bay versus Philly, I might look at that line. Because Tampa Bay.
Brian.
No. Just listen to me. Tampa Bay is another beat up team that they would need Tom Brady to have a Tom Brady-esque game to beat them. Because right now what we're looking at is what's the offense going to be? You don't have Mike. You have a banged up Mike Evans. You have no Chris Godwin. You have no Antonio Brown. Can you really say that when it comes down to the playoffs, how far is Tampa Bay going to make it?
I mean, that would be a whole different conversation. Like, how far are they going to make it? But are we going to really look at the line between the Eagles and the Bucs?
If it's plus 600, I might throw down on that. I might take those odds.
Man, if the line is 13.5,
I wouldn't bet the spread. I would only bet if I'm going big money.
Oh my
gosh.
Big money. But the Eagles are playing the Cowboys, and as we wrap up this point of the podcast talking about the NFL is reportedly looking for a new Super Bowl location. So SoFi Stadium has been locked in as the Super Bowl location for 2022. It's a beautiful stadium. I've been there a couple times now. I saw the Chiefs-Chargers overtime game. That was fantastic. I know I got to see the Titans-Rams, but they're looking at alternate sites, and the reason I bring up the Cowboys is because they play at AT&T Stadium. And there was an NFL spokesperson, Brian McCarthy, that said that the contingency has been explored, and he mentioned it's not really an unusual experience. They're usually looking for a backup plan in general, but it's come on, man. What's going on in LA is they still have tyranny going on there. They have places where you can go get checked for the flu Rona. They've literally promoted that in LA. Obviously, there's a lot of homie out there and across the country. But this year, he said, as part of our standard contingency planning process that we could conduct for all regular season and postseason games, we've contacted several clubs to inquire about stadium availability in the event we can't not play the Super Bowl as scheduled due to weather-related issues or unforeseen circumstances, a.k.a. LA sucks, so we might need to look for a different place. AT&T Stadium, I went there last weekend. That was one of my favorite sports experiences of my entire life. Mm-hmm. Jerry's World is unfreaking believable. That whole place, the atmosphere is almost unrivaled.
It's basically built to host Super Bowls.
Exactly, and then they just had the Orange Bowl there. I'm pretty sure it was the Orange. Or was it Cotton Bowl?
Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl. Yeah, the Cotton Bowl was there, and like little side note, I've been to a lot of sports games over the past couple years. And I know a lot of people haven't gone because they don't want to deal with the woke BS or support these places.
Breaking news, John's a big sports guy.
Huge sports guy. Big sports guy. But I know when I went to a Kings game, I have to show the negative tests. I got to wear a mask. And going to AT&T Stadium, I don't care. There's 80,000 people there. Just roll through. We're not checking anything. You don't need to wear a mask. Make your own choices. Go for it. And the video board was incredible. The fans were super into it. It's a beautiful place. And then Texas Live, you got bars, restaurants, everything set up around Arlington. I think it would be fantastic. And I don't know. We'll see what they do. But I would not say it's just totally out of the realm of possibility that they would change it up because LA's a disaster.
I mean, yeah, they're looking into new spots. What is it? I mean, you have Arizona, Texas, Florida, and probably Tennessee. Those are the only places I guarantee they're looking into because they're the only places that are free.
Yeah, so we'll end up seeing what's happening there, but it's going to be so fun. We got a couple Saturday games, full slate of games on Sunday. Oh, it's going to be so fun. All right, let's talk about college football. The semifinal games were so disappointing. And I was going for I said specifically, I think the line was 14.5 for there's plus 14.5 for Cincy at that point. And I said Bama is gonna win by more than that. I just felt it. I was like, I'm gonna be rooting for Cincy, but they just beat the brakes off those guys.
I will say, though, Cincy proved that they belonged there. Well,
yes.
Bama is such a good program. This is their sixth time since the college football playoffs were started. This is the sixth time competing in the national championship.
Since 2014,
They're an absolute unit. The fact that the problem with Cincy was always going to be going into this game against Bama. It was always going to be their offense. Did Desmond Ridder and his tight ends, who were basically his best pieces anyways, did they have enough to go and take on Bama? And no, they just didn't. But the defense, doing an offense that was getting kicked off the field, only put up 6 points. The defense held Bama in a game like that to 27 points. I have to say that's an absolute win. That's a big-time win for? Sauce Gardner. Sauce is his nickname. Ahmad Gardner is corner for Cincinnati. He has now finished his college career without ever letting up a touchdown. That dude, I mean, this is my little clip it prediction. He is going to rise up draft boards like crazy. He's not going to be the first corner taken because there's Booth from Clemson and Stingley from LSU. Look into those guys. They're very, very good. But Sauce Gardner is an absolute stud, and this game skyrocketed his chances.
100%. Because I think we look at the UCFs of the world. Like, remember when they were undefeated? Everybody's like, just give them a shot. Like a non-Power 5 team.
Yeah.
Just give them a shot. Cincy belonged there.
Yeah.
And I think that was great for football. I mean, obviously the game wasn't close, but no doubt you got guys that because there was a few drives in the beginning of the game too where you could tell like they were going hard.
Yeah.
They were like, we belong here. We're going to hit you in the mouth. You're going to hit us harder. You're going to score more points. But hey, they played till the last whistle. And it was good to see because I think that totally changed the game. What Cincinnati was able to do.
Crazy. Who was there at the game? Who I don't know how this is just completely like lost in the annals of history, but Travis Kelce was a Cincinnati Bearcat. How do I remember zero of Travis Kelce as a Cincinnati Bearcat? To me, he just kind of like sprouted up in the NFL one day. Like I do not remember that. Like it's wild, but
the thing here with we got a rematch of the SEC championship game between Bama and Georgia. So once again, too, Bama had in their 6 national championship games since 2014. That's when the college football playoff started. Speaking of beating the brakes off teams, dude, the SEC championship game wasn't even close because Georgia, they hadn't given up like really more than a touchdown to really any other opponent. So their defense. They gave up their points per game was 7.2. Yards per game, 238. And then yards per play, 3.8 against every other team that they played.
Yeah.
But when they played Bama in the SEC championship game, they got beat 41-24. And they gave up 536 yards. 500. And that's what's so interesting about college football is it just, speak of a roller coaster ride.
Oh, yeah.
You had Bama that had to go to 4 OT to beat a Bo Nixless Auburn team. Obviously, when you get those rivalry games, it's going to bring out the best in those teams, and their offense kind of looked inept in that game, but they found a way to win. And then Bama had a tough loss against Texas A&M this year too. But when it came down to it, Bama gets it done. And they're looking for the repeat here, and your money should be on Alabama.
Yeah,
Stetson
absolutely.
Bennett, I am so interested to see how he's going to perform because you basically got a 5-star recruit, a Heisman Trophy player with Bryce Young against this walk-on quarterback. It's going to be an amazing matchup, and I would put my money on Bama, but I really got to think it's going to be close.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what Vegas is thinking as well. So I'm looking at it, and they have Georgia as the favorite. They have Georgia at -3, Alabama +3. The over/under is set at 52. Which, so what Vegas is basically saying is, hey, SEC game, let's kick that out. We think, we think Georgia.
Yeah, once again, that's what I was just talking about when it came to points per game compared to
7.2. That is insane.
The defense has been incredible. Other than that,
it was
game.
historic. That was a historic defense. No, but I mean, so Vegas is essentially saying, hey, we think it's going to be really hard for Alabama to beat Georgia twice, and so they're making Georgia the favorite. What's funny, though, is 64% of bettors are betting on Alabama. So everyone else around the country is going, yeah, you might think Georgia's winning, but we don't.
I mean, I think you'd have to put your money on Bama. I mean, it just makes sense.
Being gifted a +3 right now?
It's going to be so hard to stop that team. They just score way too many points now, and I think that game against Auburn was just kind of a fluke.
Yeah.
So put the money there, but that's going to be a great game too, and is that on Tuesday or Monday?
They normally do it on Monday.
I
think Monday, January 10th.
Yeah, because that's Monday, because that's why they have the NFL games. You got 2 games on Saturday, full slate of games on Sunday, and then Monday you get college football national championship. Put money on Bama, baby. All right, let's talk about the NBA. Kyrie Irving is back. He's back. He's back. He's back. The Nets are better with Kyrie Irving. We've known that since the beginning. Kyrie Irving, also too, shout out to players like Kyrie Irving. We're going to talk about Novak Djokovic in just a little bit. You got the Jonathan Isaacs out there, Tyler Bertuzzi, Aaron Rodgers, Cole Beasley. These players hold the line and they win. I think they've been an absolute inspiration to a lot of people across the country and a lot of other athletes because there's athletes that they're speaking up for. Mm-hmm. That's what Cole Beasley's brought up. Kyrie Irving said this is not about me. This is way more than basketball. Once again, Kyrie Irving is a weird guy. He's a really weird guy, but he's someone that we should support in this situation. And he came out. He made this team better. They were down 19 to the Pacers. Lance Stevenson did the Lance dance.
It's like, who was really back last night? Was it Kyrie Irving or Lance? Lance romance, baby.
Well, that was his second career 30-point game.
Just crazy.
And how many? He scored 20 points in the first quarter?
20 points in the first quarter.
20 points in the first quarter, but the Nets ended up overcoming. Look at these guys, the Kings of Brooklyn, KD and Kyrie. Gotta love that.
No Harden, I guess.
Where Brooklyn at?
But
Kyrie, so his stat line, he had 22 points. He shot 53% from the field, had 3 rebounds, 4 assists. He was plus 18 in 32 minutes on the floor.
Great stat line.
If you have not seen some of the videos, the post-game interview, just the way the whole crowd in Indiana reacted, and KD, Harden, his other teammates, coaches, staff, they were so excited to have him there. And they're just a better team. And that's what happens when you hold the line. You hold the line here, and it got to a point where you got a tyrannical government in New York that is still not allowing him to play home games. Mm-hmm. Remember, he could still only play on the road. That's it. And he brought that up in the post-game press conference. I know we put that on our Instagram. Once again, it's at TPUSA Breakaway. I say it's not an ideal situation at all, but we're going to battle through it. But he held the line. He lost a lot of battles, but he won the war. And that's what you have to do. They got to a point where they said, hey, we are not going to be able to compete for a championship, and there's no way in the world we're going to win a championship without this guy.
What's going to be the wildest adaptation of this story, though, will be if they make it to the finals and the no playing in New York is still being enforced with him, because the media narrative, as hard as it is against him right now, if they make it to the finals and he's not playing home games, I don't know if we are ready for as much as the left sports journalists are going to absolutely just try to tear him apart limb from limb. I'm curious to see what happens. Obviously we're a few months away from that. 5 months away from that. But no, that's where the story would really accelerate.
Well, that's when I think we're going to see more protests in the streets in New York. Like, there was already a Stand With Kyrie protest out there, and there's been a lot going on in New York that I think it gets to a point where you just can't be optimistic about a place like New York. New York or California, no way. Like, you'd really hope that in a few months, and by the time that we're going to get to the NBA playoffs, that something would change.
Yeah. But you never know. I mean, we're almost 2 years. Well,
if they make a
right
run
now
to the NBA Finals without Kyrie playing road games,
home games,
and playing home games in Brooklyn,
yeah,
and if they ended up winning without him playing in home games, would that almost be the greatest run ever?
I mean,
obviously we'd have to see who they're playing and how the series
go.
No,
but it would be interesting. Because it would completely take Kevin Durant to another level. And obviously, you give the MVP for what happens in the regular season. But if you could look into the future and know he was going to do that, that's the most MVP performance you could ever say. But there's a lot of good teams in the West, and so even if they were to be able to make a run through the East without Kyrie playing home games, they would run into just some absolute behemoths from the West. You've got obviously Warriors, Suns, Jazz. That would be really tough to beat them in 7 games without your second best player.
Well, do you think there's any team in the East that could beat a Nets team where, let's say Kyrie at some point is able to play home games as well? Is there any team that could beat them in a series? I think maybe the Bulls, but I don't think the Bulls can keep up in a series with a full strength team.
Full strength maybe not, but if it's Kyrie-less, I believe there are 3 that easily could beat them if they're only having Kyrie for half the games. It's the Bulls, Milwaukee, and a healthy Heat. For the Heat, it completely depends on if Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Kyle
hopefully
Lowry
the Heat don't use the lineup that they used yesterday.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They use the lineup they used
guys
yesterday.
I've never even heard of before. One dude's last name was Yurt7.
Do you still have that, that lineup there? Because I know if you were watching that game yesterday between the Heat and the Trailblazers, the Heat basically just started kind of just some random
Martin,
squad.
Old man PJ Tucker, some dude last name Yurt7, who had an incredible stat line, by the way. Yurt7. Max Struss and Kyle Lowry. And they brought Tyler Hero off the bench, dude. It's hilarious. Spoelstra's a great coach, so he could put together these crazy lineups and it still works. They still beat the Trailblazers. Blazers didn't have Dame, though.
And then also another thing I do want to bring up is yesterday Dirk Nowitzki. He got his jersey retired. And I know when I was out in Dallas, there were so many commercials about, the Mavericks, we're going to retire Dirk Nowitzki's jersey. It's going to happen this night, January 5th, against the Golden State Warriors. And I was like, God, why does it have to be against the Warriors? And I'm like, I know that the Warriors are a better team than the Mavericks, but I know you got an interesting thought about this in a take when you have these big moments, because I'm like, gosh, man, they're going to have a full arena. The vibe is going to be right. and there's just going to be an aura around the place. And the Warriors scored the least amount of points they've scored all season. They shot the worst they've shot from three. Steph Curry was 1 for 10 in the first half, couldn't buy a bucket. And that was a total game of runs. The Warriors came out, they're always super hot the beginning of the third quarter. They came out with a 12-0 run after being down 11 at half, but then they just lost it. I mean, they ended up losing by double digits. It just wasn't a good game for them. But Dirk Nowitzki, maybe the best fadeaway in the history of the league, behind maybe MJ and Kobe.
Oh yeah, I mean that turnaround, high step, the jump, the release point was so far behind his head that it was impossible to block. I loved back during that the finals, the Heat Mavericks finals. They kept showing over to Dirk's shooting coach, and he was just this like most serious European man you'd ever seen in your life. He just always looked so intent on the game, and it was like that's just a memory burned into my brain. That was the dude who was the shooting coach behind the classic Dirk shot, which
because when he puts his knee up like that too, it's like there's nothing you can do.
He's practically 7 feet. He's like 6'10", 6'11", and so like what are you gonna do? Like you've got this massive knee in front of you. He's shooting from like 2 feet away from your hand. How can you defend that? And LeBron couldn't.
And then I want to show this up here. I'm putting this in here for our production squad. I want to show the trophy, the little like mini statue that they gave.
It's like, come on, Cuban, you're a billionaire, dude. Build a bigger statue.
Like it's so weird looking, and I know I got that over there. It's got the classic step back. But it's like, and then the guys back there. I just put that right there on in the little document for you guys. See if we can throw that up there. And it's just odd how they're trying to maybe be a little artistic about this whole thing. But to be completely honest, I know when you said crap earlier and you try to keep it PG. It looks like he's just shooting anal beads. It's horrible. It is horrible. Look at this. That is just weird, man. Stop. Like, you can't tell me I'm wrong. Okay? Look at that. That is weird. I'm making you uncomfortable. I'm making you uncomfortable. I'm making Brian uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable when I look at that. Okay? That's weird. And then he's got his mouth open and just just like nobody needed that, Mark Cuban.
Man, it's so.
I just needed one basketball.
Wow, it's only been 2 years since Dirk retired. What? Oh gosh.
I'm sorry for ruining everybody's day.
I am so uncomfortable right now. Yes,
I know everybody back there, the whole production squad, they're like, I'm scarred for life. You know what? We're all scarred for life looking at that thing.
Yeah, that's true.
That's weird. Congratulations, Dirk. Here's this. All right, real quick, too. Who is the MVP?
I don't know. We've kind of reached an interesting point in the season where there's a few MVPs. There's nobody separated themselves from the pack yet. You've got these really, really good teams. For me, if I was, Hub, whatever his name is, casting my vote, I'd probably pick Steph. Team with the best record. He's putting up just an incredible stat line again. And something, because I am not Hub and I can compartmentalize. Off the court, I don't like LeBron James. He, in his year 37 season, he is playing so well. He is doing everything he can to keep
Thank you for bringing that up.
Terrible team. No. The team is a geriatric unit. They are so bad, and the only reason they have 20 wins is because LeBron is leaving it all out on the court. He is playing absolutely phenomenally to where he has to be in the MVP conversation. Ultimately, the Lakers just aren't a very good team, so I don't know how many nods he'll get. But no, I kind of right now I look at classic. I look at Steph and I look at LeBron. What a cliche.
Yeah, because right now when I'm looking at FanDuel and we're talking about the odds for MVP, you got Steph Curry at plus 135, excuse me. Kevin Durant plus 210. Giannis is plus 900. And then someone like Ja Morant. He's balling, baby.
Yeah.
He looks real good. I got to see him live when they played the Kings, and they just beat the brakes off the Kings. I know Alvin Gentry was saying that was one of like his least favorite moments as a coach.
Oh.
So God, I got to witness that.
Yeah.
But Ja Morant, he's playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers.
Is he,
he's plus
we're kind of
5,500 right now.
The decline. Oh, jeez. Obviously, a lot of people over the years have pointed to Russell Westbrook. Is Ja Morant now the most athletic point guard in the NBA?
Yes.
I don't think there's anybody who can.
Do you remember the Derrick Rose days? Do you remember just how insanely athletic? Like people, if you did not, if you're maybe not old enough or you don't watch the NBA too much, I understand some people that have tuned out to the NBA. They're like, I can't deal with the social justice nonsense. At least go to YouTube and check out Derrick Rose. Him, like
22-year-old Derrick Rose.
Yes.
The MVP Derrick Rose.
Yes, those whole days, the MVP Derrick Rose, that guy was so explosive that you watch Ja Morant, and man, he gets up just like we showed you up there on the screen for everybody watching.
I hadn't thought about that yet, but young Derrick Rose and young Ja Morant, they've got a lot in common.
They really do. It's one of those things that all of a sudden it just. Did you ever see the movie Flubber?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's seen Flubber, but it just all of a sudden just like
on the bottom of the shoes, the Flubber juice.
It just seemed like almost Ja Morant can jump from anywhere, and then he could take off real quick, and then he's just gonna leap over everyone, and he's making that team better.
They're not empty stats. The team is playing very well.
Yes.
What's their record right now? They gotta be crushing it. I wonder where they're 25-14. That probably puts them at 4th or 5th in the West. It's really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so impressive what they've been able to do, and I hope he keeps it up. And I think that's we have so many conversations about, we're in such a weird world. People have tuned out of sports, and they're trying to figure out, how do I support it? Do I watch? I know I had a lot of people reach out to me about the Kyrie Irving situation that said, hey, this is going to be the first NBA game I watched this season. And I understand. But there's times with me, obviously, worked in sports media for a long time. We got this podcast here, and you need to get a legitimate take from someone that watches sports and knows sports. So I try to separate the art form from the wokeness or the politics.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to make sure to say, hey, I'm not going to buy NFL or NBA Game Pass or whatever it may be. Like, take your money away, don't watch. I totally get that. But there's times where I want to see people like Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Where I'm at home, the Kings are playing the Grizzlies, and I'm going to take my time to go see this player. I want to go see the Luka Doncic's out there. I want to see Steph Curry. I want to go see these players. For me, it's like I'm not going to compromise by like just getting a vaccine just so I can go see these players.
Yeah.
But I am going to be like, hey, negative COVID test, whatever. I want to go see these guys, and I can separate the art form from what's going on in the politics, because I think like I want to look back and tell my kids that like, I watched Ja Morant a couple times in person, and it was incredible to see.
Well, I know you and I, John, kind of talked earlier in the week about this. We were talking about the concept of should, quote unquote, real Americans, real patriots be even watching NFL or NBA? And look, I understand if you've made the decision, hey, I'm not going to. I get that. I do. I truly do. However, I fully, in my belief, I'm going to dig my heels in and I'm going to go kicking and screaming. You're not just going to, like the woke leftists and whatnot, they don't just get to take the NFL and take the NBA away from me. These are sports that were created in America. Okay, these are parts of American culture and have been for decades. I'm not just going to, turn over and let them have them. No, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to win the culture back, of get leftism out of sports, and so that these can be great American pastimes once again. And so it's like, I get it if you don't want to watch, and maybe there will come the day where we have to full-on boycott. Maybe that day will come. I don't think we've reached that day yet.
Play offense. Stop playing defense.
100%.
You cannot give up sports. We talk about it so much on this podcast and the show we've had now for months, saying this is the place we can come together. think about any other outlet, any other industry that can bring people of any different background, socioeconomic, racial, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter what you voted for. We're going to come together and we're going to root for a team. That's it. That's what you're there. That's what you're there for, or just to experience sports. And it brings people together unlike anything else. You go to sports games. You watch sports games on TV to get away from politics. But obviously, once again, politics are in sports, and you're getting a lot of the left side of the conversation. You need to hear the right side, but do not give up on sports. I understand some people that are like, hey, I'm not going to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch, or I'm not going to spend my money on Game Pass, or I'm not going to spend my money at arenas and stadiums that are pushing these stupid requirements that obviously they have these medical professionals that are just pushing down on them, like a place like San Jose. Like, you cannot go to a Sharks game without being vaccinated. I totally get that, but do not give up on sports. We can't. We need sports. And that's, I think, a place where we can turn the tide. Because we talked about it earlier. You got some players that are holding the line and making a difference. But they are dealing with some crazy backlash. They are dealing with this power-hungry, money-hungry tyrants across the world like Novak Djokovic. I don't know how much you follow that, but he's the #1 tennis player in the entire world. He's a 20-time Grand Slam winner. And they have the Australian Open in Melbourne, Australia, where they've had the longest lockdowns in the entire world. The most tyrannical place on the planet is Melbourne, Australia. The state of Victoria, that's what it's in. So also, to disclaimer, anybody that is looking to Australia, it's not just one whole big state. They have different states and territories. So like when you look at California versus Florida, New York versus Texas, that's what it's like. So when you think of Sydney and they got New South Wales, that state, it's totally different from Victoria. You got the premier of that area, dictator Dan Andrews, and then what happened here was basically the federal government in Australia said that Novak Djokovic, you got an exemption. You can come into the state of Victoria, you can play in this tournament. So the federal government and also the World Tennis Organization, or Tennis Australia, approved that exemption. And then once he landed, you had the state of Victoria and their Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, said, we're not going to allow him. They revoked his visa, and they're going to deport him. And they're saying that no one is above the law. And also, too, anyone that's out in Australia or anybody that is trying to crap on Novak Djokovic, what are we doing here? You've been under a tyrant for almost 2 years. And you've been told to stay in your homes. It's a police state in a lot of ways. And you're going to get mad at Novak because he's trying to do something to change the rules? No one's above the law? That's why people have to appreciate America. Because look at what's going on in a place like Australia, Melbourne, Australia. You have someone that's trying to do whatever they can. And obviously you have celebrities, sports stars are going to get exemptions. Look at any major sports award show or Hollywood award show. People aren't going to wear masks, but the help has to wear masks. They don't have to go through all these requirements and protocols. But Novak Djokovic, it sounds like they're trying to fight this legally. But it's an absolute shame that this is taken away from sports. And this is all politics. This is all money. And this is all people in power pushing a specific agenda. And they want you to get mad at Novak. But the real people they should be attacking is the prime minister, the premier, and the people that run these places.
I don't know.
Sorry, I had to go off.
No, I feel you. And it almost feels like, hey, maybe because, given an exemption, taken away, blah, 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 blah. I'm just speculating here. I'm just asking questions. But almost feels like maybe the bureaucracy decided they were going to make an example out of somebody. Who better than the #1 player in the world?
And then I remember, too, he ruffles feathers.
Yeah.
Novak Djokovic is a jerk. No doubt. And he's a big baby out there. But he backs it up, man. He is an incredible tennis player. And to think that, this is going to take away from his Grand Slam hopes.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing here. Like, the Australian Open is one of my favorite sporting events to watch. My brother and his wife live out there. They're out here now. They were able to escape, but he's gone to that multiple times, and it is unbelievable. It's an incredible tournament, but the fact that we've let people in power across the world take sports away, we need the number one player in the world to be in these tournaments, and we need other players to step up.
Yeah.
Because even though Novak's a jerk, we're standing up for the right things here. A couple more things before we let you go. Also, interesting along with the COVID lines is there's an NHL lawsuit. So actually the NHL and 20 other teams claim to have lost over $1 billion over this pandemic, and they're suing 5 of their insurance providers for reimbursement.
They're suing the wrong people. They should be suing the United States government.
The thing is, though, I feel like they are hand in hand. You have the insurance companies that are working with them. You know, that might be just a little bit of a theory, but it's not far-fetched because a lot of the conversation that hasn't been had is the way insurance companies have set this up. You heard the president of the United States like say this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The way they've set up the insurance is saying like, well, if you have someone that didn't get this specific medical procedure that we're pushing so hard for, and then if you have people on your team or on your staff or in your front office get it, your premium's going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where insurance companies put the NHL, other leagues, players between a rock and a hard place, and they've barred fans from games and everything it's gone on. So that's a conversation that a lot of people haven't brought up because the insurance companies hold a lot of power too. And a lot of these teams are trying to figure out like how do we continue to make money, but we don't want these premiums to go up, blah, 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 blah. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens because they're saying they lost more than $1 billion. They canceled 189 regular season games in the 2019-2020 season. And also this season, or they had a shortened season to 56 games. They're limiting fan attendance. Once again, you got places like San Jose that's forcing the vaccine on people. When I was working there in San Jose, it was unlike any atmosphere in the NHL. Vegas was great. You got other Canadian teams, but I think this is important because we need to fight back against insurance companies too because they hold a lot of weight. They hold a lot of power. In the NHL, once again, they're 99.9% vaccinated. There's one player, Tyler Bertuzzi, that is unvaccinated. And you're going to try to tell me that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, President Biden, and other people out there or leagues? Just please look at the data, look at the stats, listen to Dr. Malone, listen to Dr. McCullough, because it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Because the NHL, there's no sport like it. When you go to an NHL game live, I don't care if you watch hockey or anybody else, you're not going to find a better sport to watch live. I don't care if you know what's going on out there or not. Last thing I think we should touch on, Brandon Brown. Let's go, Brandon. Bum, 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 bum. Brandon Brown. Obviously, he was in the crossfire with the Let's Go Brandon chant. Kelly Stavis from NBC Sports, I think she did whatever she could in that interview when they did the overhead shot at the Xfinity Series race in Talladega. That was right after Brandon Brown got a big win. People were saying FJB, and then she decided to say, hey, well, they're saying let's go Brandon. Whatever. You can think what you want about that. I don't think it was just fake news or anything. I think she just tried to bring the attention back. But Brandon Brown said that, hey, I'm legitimately not getting sponsors because of this situation, just because I'm associate. He never uttered the words, let's go Brandon. Nothing. He could have made T-shirts. He could have made a killing off of that, but he said, like, I'm going to stay away from this. I'm going to try to be a little apolitical, but this is what NASCAR drivers need. They need sponsors, and they need to get their ride sponsored. That's how they make their money. That's how they're able to be supported as a team and race in the Xfinity Series, because that's basically AAA for NASCAR. He's trying to get up there. So they gave him this exemption, said, hey, like, you can do this sponsorship deal with LGB coin. Let's go Brandon coin. And I thought it was a genius deal. The NASCAR gave them the okay. And I know we got some people we know over there in LGB coin, and they told us the NASCAR gave them the okay.
Yeah, well, and they dropped a whole video, like, announcing it, which, dude, that takes time. So there was a lot of time and effort put into this whole announcement that doesn't just happen.
Exactly. And then once they came out with that hype video, that was pretty sick.
That was dope.
Like, I didn't expect that at all because I was interested. I was like, what is Brandon Brown going to do? I can't believe that he's just getting beat up for this, where he didn't utter these words at all, but he's been in the crossfire. And I was like, there's no way that he should have to pay for this. And then he has that hype video. I'm like, this is genius. If you're telling me just because I'm associated with Let's Go Brandon, watch this, I'm going to team up with LGB Coin. And then what happened right after they set the hype video out there? NASCAR backtracked. Mm-hmm. They said you can't do it.
Yep.
NASCAR,
they blame it on bureaucracies again of, oh, hey, this person gave authorization, but this person needed to. It's freaking stupid. These corporations hide behind the bureaucracy.
And there's a part of this conversation where I understand from a business standpoint that NASCAR wants to stay away from politics a little bit. Obviously, Let's Go Brandon came out of the there he is, and that's the LGB coin for everybody watching. There's Brandon Brown. That's a good looking ride.
Well, right, but there, they say they want to stay away from politics, but the letter, I mean the coin there is one letter off of being allowed. It's LGB. If it was an LGBT coin, they would allow it. They would let that happen.
Oh, and also too, if that said Black Lives Matter, they would
if
say,
it was a BLM, they'd be okay with those.
You remember
letters.
the BLM card, Bubba Wallace?
Oh, did he have that?
Yeah, he had a. Also, we're coming out with a pretty fire little Instagram post right after this, where it's like they are okay with a Black Lives Matter car, where Bubba Wallace is wearing a shirt that says "I can't breathe," but that's not okay. You're going to support a Marxist organization that has promoted burning down businesses and riots and looting and trying to put someone like George Floyd on some pedestal like he's some sort of hero? Nobody thinks that he should have died. But, like, come on. You're partnering and you're bowing down to this woke mob, these Marxist organizations, and when this guy, who unfortunately has been in the crossfire of this situation, all he's trying to do is get a sponsor for his ride, make his way up to NASCAR, you're saying, oh, no, we can't align with that. We can't align with this cryptocurrency. Get the heck out of here, NASCAR. Do you even understand your fan base? And do you understand that when they actually helped support when ESPN said 1 year ago a noose was found in the garage of Bubba Wallace? It was a garage pole. And they're trying to say, oh, that's when we really came together. You came together under this false narrative that racism is running through NASCAR. It's not proven at all. And also, Bubba Wallace is the Juicy Smollett of NASCAR. 100%. And then, know what they did? They didn't fact check it. They doubled down. NASCAR, figure your crap out. What a joke. What an absolute joke.
I did not realize that LGB coin has a market cap of $170 million.
Say that one more time.
LGB, because I'm sitting there going like, how do they have enough money to brand a NASCAR? They have a market cap of $170 million. That surprises me.
Cryptocurrency going to the moon. Crypto.com arena. It's no longer Staples Center. It's Crypto.com. So cryptocurrency, it's interesting because, a lot of places too, they're accepting cryptocurrency as payment for tickets. I know the Mavericks were doing that with Dogecoin. Also,
we need to drop some Breakaway NFTs.
Ooh, give it to me, baby. All right, that's about enough out of us. NASCAR. Hopefully, you like getting called out because we got to figure this crap out. And I think obviously I want to do whatever I can to help out Brandon Brown and anybody that's in this woke nonsense, not being able to just play their sport. It's absolutely ridiculous, but. We got a nice little podcast for you on Sunday, a special interview with Cameron Haynes, endurance athlete, bow hunter, got over 1 million followers on Instagram. Guy pretty much runs a marathon every single morning. Absolute beast. You might have heard of David Goggins. This guy is in the same realm. Cameron Haynes, super great guy. He was on stage for that sports panel when we say that champions don't kneel, how the left is ruining sports. He had so many great takes, and he uses his platform for good, and we talk about how you got to have the right mindset because too many people, they allow themselves to talk them out of, working out. We got a brand new year. We got New Year's resolutions, all this stuff. And he doesn't back down. He's been on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's done amazing stuff, continues to. So definitely tune into that on Sunday. If you're not following us on Instagram, at TPUSA Breakaway, we got some great content for you there all the time. Make sure that you subscribe, like, follow, comment, review. Give us all that good stuff, because just like cryptocurrency, just like LGB coin, we're going to the moon, baby. Brian Farnsworth, this has been a great show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Once again, tune into the Cameron Haynes interview on Sunday. And once again, thank you to everybody that went to America Fest. Tune into that. We're going to have a special podcast in a few weeks releasing that audio. Brian, thank you again.
Always
thank you. Once again, NASCAR, figure your crap out. Later.